Okay, so you've got a fairly diversified operating strategy here with the Bitcoin mining, but then also with regards to what you're doing on AI as well. And you've got a partnership with Nvidia. Talk us through that side of the business.
Well, we're an Nvidia cloud partner. We currently have about 5,000 Nvidia GPUs in tier 3 data centers between Quebec in Canada and Stockholm, Sweden. And that is our AI cloud business. It's currently doing 20 million of annualized run rate revenue. Our target next year is 100 million. That's very exciting. We actually just press released a partnership with Canada's largest telecom provider, Bell Canada. And that will give us a path to realize 100 million of revenue as we hope to bring on a cluster of NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs every quarter over the next year through this strategic partnership. It's very exciting.
Since the beginning of 2023, NVIDIA's stock has increased by more than 1,000%. To improve their AI skills, many large IT businesses intend to spend more money. Over the next 5 years, NVIDIA anticipates an AI infrastructure potential worth $3 trillion to $4 trillion. An actual phenomena that affects many aspects of life, including investment, is the fear of missing out, FOMO. Many investors hesitate to purchase a stock after it has seen a significant run because they think they have missed out. For many people, this is the case with NVIDIA. NVIDIA's stock has increased by more than 1,000% since the beginning of 2023, making every $1,000 invested now worth well over $11,000. Given the extent of the stock's rise, investors may feel as though they've missed the train. That is probably not the case, though, for one important reason. As the preferred supplier of graphics processing units, GPUs, that power data centers, NVIDIA is a key player in the artificial intelligence, AI, ecosystem, so everyone was watching its most recent earnings report. Data centers enable the training and scaling of AI, and these GPUs are to them what power is to homes. We appear to be on the earlier end of massive AI infrastructure spending from many of the biggest tech companies in the world, which is why it's still possible to purchase NVIDIA. Businesses like Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, and Meta all intend to raise their capital expenditures in order to expand their AI skills and infrastructure. According to NVIDIA, over the next 5 years, there will be a $3 trillion to $4 trillion opportunity for AI infrastructure. As the top supplier of AI infrastructure, NVIDIA stands to benefit greatly if this goes as planned, even though $3 trillion to $4 trillion won't be going straight into its bank account. Although I don't think the stock will continue to expand at the same rate as it has in recent years, its long-term growth prospects are still favorable. Along the road, be ready for the unavoidable volatility. The stock of NVIDIA has performed admirably in the last few years. The business established a broad buffer for itself and has promising prospects for future expansion. There is a lot of room for growth in the stock over the next 3 years. Over the past few years, NVIDIA has been at the epicenter of the artificial intelligence, AI, explosion, and the stock has profited handsomely as a result. What comes next is the question today. Investors are well aware of how well NVIDIA's stock has performed, but will it be able to do so in the future? Let's examine my reasoning for believing that the stock is poised to continue outperforming, as well as potential future stock price movements over the next 3 years. When it comes to graphics processing units, GPUs, the primary chips utilized in data center architecture to power AI workloads, NVIDIA has emerged as the industry leader. But the company's success stems from more than just creating excellent chips. The ecosystem it has created around its chips is what gives it its moat. The foundation of this ecosystem is its software platform, CUDA, which it created to enable developers to program its chips for uses other than those for which they were designed. It's easy to forget that the initial purpose of GPUs was to help video games generate images more quickly. NVIDIA made the wise decision to donate its CUDA software to academic institutions and research groups where early AI development was being conducted, even though adoption outside of video games was initially sluggish. Its user base became persistent as a result of training a whole generation of developers on its platform. These developers eventually expanded CUDA to include tools and libraries. Customers would have to rebuild a significant amount of code and retrain employees, which is just not worth it, which is one of the main reasons it is tough for them to leave NVIDIA. However, NVIDIA did not limit itself to software. It also made networking a powerful asset. Nvidia's NVLink technology enables its GPUs to function as a single unit, which is essential for training increasingly complex AI models. AI clusters now function best when all of the chips are Nvidia GPUs, despite competitors' efforts to create an open-source competing interconnect solution. More networking power was added by its previous agreement with Mellanox. Last quarter, the company's networking revenue nearly doubled to $7.3 billion, demonstrating the power of its network. In Q2, Nvidia achieved an astounding 94% market share in the GPU industry because to its extensive moat with CUDA and networking platform. Despite not selling any of its H20 chips to Chinese consumers in the previous quarter, which it said was a wasted opportunity worth around $8 billion, the company experienced remarkable growth once more. With data center sales rising 56% to $41.1 billion, the company's overall Q2 revenue jumped 56% to almost $74 billion. In contrast, adjusted EPS increased 52% to $1.05. Nvidia is well positioned to expand with AI infrastructure spending as long as it keeps rising. All indications so far suggest that growth will continue. While AI model firms continue to invest heavily in creating ever-improving large language models, LLMs, cloud computing providers have been increasing their capital expenditures for AI data centers in an attempt to meet the unquenchable demand. As AI utilization rises, the inference market is expanding quickly. The ability to sell its chips in China once more may also help Nvidia. It anticipates receiving an export license from the US government shortly, enabling it to resell its dumbed-down H20 chips there. It claimed to have between $2 billion and $5 billion worth of chips ready to ship as soon as it is permitted to start selling chips to Chinese consumers once more. In the future, Nvidia may maintain its revenue growth rate of 50% compound annual growth rate, CAGR. Its current fiscal year, which ends in January, is expected to generate about $206 billion in sales. Its 2028 revenue, or its fiscal year 2029, which ends in January, would be approximately $700 billion at that rate of growth. Applying a 15% tax rate to its operating income and assuming that the company's adjusted operating expenses grew by 7% on average each quarter through 2028, fiscal 2029, and that gross margins stayed at roughly 73%, Nvidia could produce over $390 billion in adjusted earnings by 2028, fiscal 2029, or $16 per share at its current share count of 24.5 billion. The stock's share price would be between $320 and $400 in 3 years if the price-to-earnings ratio, PE, was multiplied by 20 to 25 times. The company is still a good choice to purchase now because Nvidia is currently trading at about $171 per share, which would represent a high return if it could trade between $350 and $400 in 3 years. Retain. With its GPUs powering everything from generative AI to sophisticated data centers, Nvidia's stock has been rising along with the artificial intelligence boom. However, the business has subtly expressed interest in a different emerging technology in recent months that may one day render today's supercomputers obsolete. Investors have been enticed by the potential of quantum computing for years, but it has rarely produced immediate catalysts. Even Nvidia's CEO, Jensen Huang, stated in January 2025 that significant advancements in the field would take decades, demonstrating how young the technology is. That would probably be on the early side if you kind of said 15 years for very useful quantum computers, Huang thought at the time. According to you, 30 is most likely on the late side. However, I believe that many of us would believe it if you choose number 20. His remarks caused quantum stocks to plummet, including D-Wave, Rigetti Computing, and IonQ. But since then, Huang's tone has changed. For the first time, Nvidia devoted an entire day on quantum computing at its March GTC conference. Huang went farther by June, claiming that the industry was at a turning point. That change in tone was sufficient to warn markets once more. However, Nvidia hadn't taken any tangible financial action to support its claims until this week. It has now. Nvidia's venture capital division, NVentures, has made its first ever investment in Honeywell's quantum computing division, Quantinuum, the company announced in a news release on Thursday. The company is valued at $10 billion, and the move was a part of a $600 million investment round. Nvidia stated on Friday that the AI GAIN Act would limit international competition for cutting-edge chips, having an impact on the U.S. economy and leadership comparable to that of the AI diffusion rule, which placed restrictions on the amount of computing power that nations may possess. The GAIN AI Act, which stands for Guaranteeing Access and Innovation for National Artificial Intelligence Act, was included in the National Defense Authorization Act and requires AI chip manufacturers to give domestic orders for cutting-edge processors priority over those for overseas clients. In order to serve the rest of the globe, we never deny American clients. The proposed bill would limit global competition in any industry that leverages mainstream computing hardware in an attempt to solve an imaginary problem, according to an Nvidia spokeswoman. The measure would establish new trade restrictions requiring exporters to seek licenses and approval for shipments of silicon exceeding specific performance thresholds if it were to become law. According to the legislation, the United States and the Department of Commerce should make it a policy to refuse licenses for the export of the most potent AI chips, including those with a total processing power of 4,800 or more, and to limit the export of sophisticated AI chips to foreign countries as long as American companies are waiting and unable to purchase those same chips. Certain requirements under former U.S. President Joe Biden's AI diffusion rule, which distributed specific amounts of processing power to allies and other nations, are mirrored in the regulations. Washington is making an effort to put American needs first with the AI diffusion rule and AI GAIN Act, which would guarantee that domestic companies have access to cutting-edge chips while restricting China's access to high-end technology due to concerns that the nation will employ AI skills to boost its military. President Donald Trump struck a historic agreement with Nvidia last month, agreeing to return restricted AI chip exports to China in exchange for a share of the company's revenues. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.
Respondent. Kevin, what levels are you watching as we head into the close today? I'm just, taking a look at the board, and we're continuing to claw back, trying to get into positive territory.
We're trying to. I mean, the last couple of days we have seen some pretty decent squeezes going into the close here. I'm not sure if today is going to be another one of those days, but obviously we've had a lot of turbulence when it came to the market earlier on this morning, and we have been kind of consolidating for the last couple of hours here. We kind of highlighted this 6450 area as a potential area of support. We did kind of push through it to the downside, but we were able to recover, and we've been pretty much consolidating in about a 15-point range to the upside or downside. This 6480-ish area is going to be very key to try to break that trend and try to move us a little bit higher here. Now, kind of going into the close, 6480 is actually the area that I have as a resistance point, just based on the call flow that we have on for volume for the S&P 500 options expiring today. But if you're able to get above that, then once again, you could actually look at the 6500 level, which still has about $1 to $1.05 in premium if you're kind of looking at those options right now on the call side, which is a pretty decent amount of premium given the fact that we only have around 28 minutes left to go into the close. The biggest fear that you have, Marley, is obviously a breakdown, even below that 6450-ish area, having an unwinding going into the weekend, taking a little bit of risk off. We have some inflation data coming out next week, some employment data that's coming out on Tuesday, which is going to be interesting to see. So it kind of just depends on how the market wants to react. But it has been easier for this market to really squeeze going into the close, just given the fact that you're starting to see around 70% of the overall SPX volume being concentrated in same-day expiration options, which can move prices, especially as we get closer and closer to the close, and volatility risk and gamma risk increases for dealers that are taking the other side of these positions.
And what else are you keeping an eye on, Kevin?
Yeah, it's going to be a couple of things. Volume-wise today, once again, not an outsized day, even though we did see this intraday churn happening here. It's really kind of top-heavy when you're looking at the Mag 7 and the S&P 500 equal weight. I'm not sure where it's at right now, but last time that I checked, it was pretty much flat on the session here. So we are not really seeing a sell-off type of environment where everything is selling off. It seems like it's very selective. We obviously had that Broadcom announcement last night. Saw a little bit of rotation out of Nvidia and AMD. That's kind of weighing down the S&P 500 as well. But from a volume standpoint, everything looks to be kind of intact. I also have a couple of weekly charts that I wanted to highlight, and maybe we could talk about maybe an event that's going to happen after the close here today. I'm looking at the E-mini S&P 500 weekly chart. I have a 1-year weekly. Marley, if you kind of look at the last 3 weeks, we've moved only about 0.2% for the E-mini S&P 500 if you're taking the open from 3 weeks ago to where we are pretty much at right now. This just means that we are in a consolidation, and consolidations can happen in bullish trends, but what we don't want to see is next week we consolidate or pull back to the downside and close the next week actually lower, because it will actually create or start the creation of a bearish signal on that MACD, and also would confirm a bearish divergence for the E-mini S&P 500. So this chart is kind of similar to what we looked at last week when it came to Nvidia in the monthly chart, just showing some of that consolidation. And then the other thing I want to kind of highlight here is the technology sector. XLK, we are seeing on the weekly chart a bull flag pattern taking place. We are in a bullish trend, but we do have a little bit of a flag or a consolidation. And if we actually can go to that next chart, this one is the one I'm kind of concerned about. Obviously, we are seeing it in the green here today, but this flag pattern is actually setting up for a potential bearish cross for the MACD, and this is something that actually could weigh on the S&P 500, given the fact that we will be, once the signal does hit, or if it does hit, probably will be the week of the Fed meeting, as well as some of the other inflationary data and some of the other information that we will see hit the market. So this all just means that we're consolidating. September is usually a difficult month, but you are starting to see some sectors outside of communication services rolling over here. And next week, if we're kind of in the same position when it comes to pricing, those rollover signals most likely will confirm and could also trigger maybe some downside pressure for the S&P 500.
And as